Today on Weekend Connection, if you could make a difference in someone's life by letting them help you, would you do it?
We need you to step into someone else's shoes for a minute. Someone who's not able to get a job because almost every single employer out there thinks you can't work. But you can work and you want to work. And society, it's all the better when you do work.
This is Brent Smith. Let's get connected. October was National Disability Employment Awareness Month for 2023, but we're extending it into November here on the Bible Broadcasting Network with today's edition of Weekend Connection. According to recent statistics published by the U.S. Department of Labor's Office of Disability Employment Policy, in collaboration with the Bureau of Labor Statistics, 22.5% of Americans with disabilities are employed nationwide at this time, and the percentage of the population dealing with IDD who are currently employed stands at only 18%. Even to the casual observer, these numbers point to there being a challenge that needs to be addressed and questions that need to be answered. To get the answers to those questions, I'm talking today with Steve Lee, Executive Director of Wheat Mission in Carolina. Steve, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me today.
Would you like to take a moment to share with us who Wheat Mission is and what you do?
Wheat Mission was founded back in 1979 by a blind young man. Even though he was blind, he was a very good Christian man. He had a heart for people with disabilities. He wanted to share good news of Jesus to those who are out there, has no access to come to church, or there's no one out there to really sharing the good news to them. So it was founded in about 40 years ago. And here in Carolina region, about 17 years ago, we started our charter here, and I've been serving the ministry since 2016, helping out with people with developmental disabilities and physical disabilities.
Okay, well, that sounds wonderful. For our listeners who might not be familiar with the term IDD, what does IDD stand for?
So IDD stands for Intellectual Developmental Disability, also known as intellectual disability. This describes a condition characterized by limitations in intellectual functionings and adaptive behavior.
What are some examples of intellectual and developmental disabilities?
A lot of people know about autism. Autism spectrum disorder is one of the examples. ASD is a developmental disorder that affects communication, social interaction, and behavior. It is a spectral motor, meaning that individuals with ASD can exhibit a wide range of symptoms and abilities. Challenges may include difficulties in social communication, repetitive behaviors, and sensory sensitivities. Down syndrome is another one. It is a genetic condition caused by the presence of an extra chromosome 21. It is associated with intellectual disabilities, distinctive facial features, and certain health issues. Individuals with Down syndrome often have mild to moderate intellectual disabilities. IDD resulting from brain damage or injury or illnesses are present. I have a young man. He was an infant when he had brain damage, and someone dropped him on the floor, and he had to go through the brain surgery, and he became a person with intellectual disabilities. Another person that I know, he discovered brain tumor when he was 12 years old, and he had to go through the surgery again, and he became a person with intellectual disabilities.
So there are quite a few causes. It's not always something to do with birth. It could be something that happens that's traumatic in their life.
That's right.
Okay. I'm interested today in how integrating people with IDD into the workforce might benefit them, and I really hope that today's Weekend Connection might spark some interest among businesses to hire them. But those dealing with IDD cannot know the benefits of being employed until they've been hired. So to foster interest in those doing the hiring, what advantages can you tell us about that an employee with IDD brings to the workplace?
inclusion of individuals with IDD adds diversity to the workplace, and it fostering a culture of acceptance and understanding. Diverse perspectives contribute to innovation and problem solving within the organization. Employers and coworkers often report positive experiences working with individuals with IDD, contributing to a more inclusive and supportive workplace culture.
Would hiring someone dealing with IDD incur extra expense or effort with regard to providing special training?
People typically think that hiring individuals with IDD incur extra expense and effort, but it really depends on the specific needs of the individuals and the nature of the work. Individuals with IDD may benefit from individualized training to accommodate their specific learning styles and support their success in the workplace, but not always. Some employees with IDD may require workplace accommodations, such as assistive technology and additional support from colleagues and supervisors. But there are also a lot of support and incentives available out there. In some regions, there are government programs and incentives that provide financial support to employers who hire individuals with IDD. And there are also a lot of support agencies out there employers can collaborate with to use their job training process and other resources.
Okay, so it's a common misconception that it's always necessary for there to be extra expense.
That is right.
Well, that's good to hear. Are there any other misconceptions regarding hiring someone with disabilities?
Certainly, there are several misconceptions regarding hiring individuals with disabilities, and limited productivity is one of them. In reality, individuals with IDD can be highly productive when given the right support and accommodations. They often bring unique skills and perspectives to the workplace. And studies show that employees with disabilities, including IDD, often demonstrate strong loyalty and commitment, leading to the lower turnover rates. And another misconception is all disabilities are visible. There are people at borderline intellectual disabilities. Average IQ range is in between 90 to 110, and those people with borderline intellectual disability have their range in between 70 to 85. You can speak to them and make conversations, and there's no physical disabilities that is exposed. So their disabilities are pretty much hidden in them. So it is our misconception. Sometimes we think that disability is visible.
Very interesting. What can employers and coworkers do to improve the workplace for people with IDD?
They can create an inclusive and supportive workplace for individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. For employers, they can provide disability awareness training for all employees to foster understanding and dispel myths about working with individuals with IDD.
Today on Weekend Connection, we're visiting with Steve Lee of Wheat Mission in Carolina about the benefits of employing those dealing with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Steve, how does employment help improve life for those dealing with IDD?
It helps a lot. It increases independence and self-esteem for the people with IDD. Employment facilitates social interaction, allowing individuals with IDD to build a relationship with coworkers, fostering a sense of belonging. Social inclusion is the workplace can contribute to a more inclusive community overall, break down barriers and promoting diversity. It increases their skill development and lifelong learning, and financial independence is one of the things. It gives the opportunity to earn an income, contributing to financial independence. Not only it's limited to the person with disabilities, but also it extends out to their family members as well. When an individual with IDD secures employment, it often brings a sense of joy and pride to their family members. Witnessing their loved one contributing to the workplace can be emotionally fulfilling, and it reduces the caregiver's stress. When individuals with IDD become more independent through the employment, the burden on family caregivers may lessen. This can lead to reduced stress and a more balanced family dynamic.
Well, those sound like wonderful empowerments that would not only lift a person up from where they were, but make them want to go even higher. Do you have an anecdote that might introduce us to a person dealing with IDD who has been helped through finding employment?
Yes, sure. I have a guy named Charlie. I knew him since he was in high school. He's over 30 years now. He used to help out his parents' grocery market until he was around 28 or 29. And after they closed down their business, he just had nothing to do. So he normally just stayed at home and waiting for someone to call him to go out or do something. But I helped him find a new employment. I started by asking him, what do you like to do? Is there something that you're interested in? And trying to discover who he is so that he can enjoy finding this whole process. And then he finally got a job, and now he's really enjoying working at his employment every day, Monday through Friday.
Oh, that's wonderful. We're speaking today with Steve Lee. Are there ways that people might become involved without being trained, such as being a support to individuals during their time off the clock, perhaps even on a volunteer basis?
Yes, sure. The ministry that I'm serving right now is called Wheat Mission in Carolina. What we do is meet every Saturday with people with intellectual disabilities, and we worship together, and we do outdoor activities together, and there is cooking class, art class, music class, and physical exercises. We do everything pretty much together all day on Saturday, and it's called Recipe Saturday. Anyone who's interested in, they can come and join us. And we do volunteers training and meeting every Saturday morning for an hour. So even though you're not expert, even though you had no previous experience with people with intellectual disabilities, we are there to help you, and we are to guide you through to help you get into the special needs community.
Would the same thing be true of someone not living within North Carolina?
Yes, absolutely. There are a lot of special needs ministries out there that individuals can become involved with in supporting people with intellectual disabilities in various ways, even on a volunteer basis. Here are some of the suggestions for ways to contribute without formal training or during personal time. Number one, community event and activities. Volunteer to assist with community event and activity that involve individuals with intellectual disabilities. This could include sports events, art classes, or social gatherings. And another thing is just support at local organizations. Many organizations that support individuals with intellectual disabilities welcome volunteers, so you can contact local disabilities support organizations, community centers, or school to inquire about opportunities, and participate in inclusive programs or activities in your community. This could involve volunteering at inclusive sports league, art programs, or community festivals.
Thank you for that information, and thank you for taking the time to speak with us today.
Thank you for having me here today.
Today on Weekend Connection, we've been talking with Steve Lee, Executive Director of Wheat Mission in Carolina. If you'd like further information on today's topic, contact Wheat Mission in Carolina at 704-860-1388. Write to them at Wheat Mission in Charlotte, P.O. Box 2605, Indian Trail, North Carolina, 28078. Or you can email them at charlotte@wheatmission.org. That's CHARLOTTE@wheatmission.org. Weekend Connection is a weekly public service broadcast brought to you by the Bible Broadcasting Network. Please tune in this same time next week for another topic of interest to the Christian community.
Thank you for listening to this feature, a production of BBN, the Bible Broadcasting Network. BBN provides 24-hour Christian programming, great Christian music, and Bible teaching. Listen to BBN by clicking the link in the description.